Okay, perfect. So could you start off by introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Simon Nicolaas. I've been a relationship coach for the last 6 years, 5 years, 6 years. I am a father, a husband. I love basketball. I'm excited to
Oh,
be here. My favorite thing is supporting people to be courageous in the face of challenging circumstances. And that's what I've been doing for a while and continue to find new ways on how to do it. Hence the name Love Over Fear.
love that. And I can't thank you enough for what you do. And I think it's been 6 years because I think I've been watching your videos since 6 years. So I would say it's been
Oh,
6 years.
wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Cool.
And your content, simply incredible. I can't say this enough. So and I love the way you speak about certain topics that, especially about avoidance and things like that. So, we'll obviously be touching about all of that during this. So,
Okay.
if you're comfortable with sharing, do you mind talking about why you even began coaching, like
Yeah,
relationships? Hmm.
yeah, you can ask me anything. Happy to. I'm pretty open. So, why did I start with relationships and
Hmm.
not any other area?
Hmm.
Well, I've always been fascinated with relationships ever
Hmm.
since I grew up. I think it was maybe 6 or 7 years old, and I was invited to a birthday party of my best friend who was a girl,
Hmm.
and there was 20 other girls there, and I was the only boy.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
I understand why that would be. That was like my first like signal of like relationships and dynamics. And I don't really know how to explain or talk about any of this, but there's something going on here that's
Hmm.
different.
Hmm.
Fast forward to that's probably I would say my first real crush. Maybe it was like
Uh-huh.
12 or 13 years old.
Oh.
And I was just fascinated with trying to understand, how do I get this girl to like me? How do I get this person to be interested in me?
Right.
And so I've been fascinated with relationships my whole life, and I've been interested in personal development
Hmm.
probably since the age of 14.
Hmm.
Well, what had me choose relationships is I was going through a really horrible breakup.
I'm
I was
sorry.
actually engaged to someone else. Yeah, it's
Oh.
all good. It's part of life. I was engaged to somebody, and we broke up, and I thought my life was like over. The
Mhm,
whole future that I pictured was gone in a moment, in one conversation,
mhm,
and it messed me up pretty bad. Like I
mhm,
had trouble getting out of bed. I
mhm,
was I'm not sure if I was depressed or not. I never went to go see a doctor about it, but I was in a low spot and I didn't have motivation to do anything. And
mhm,
I thought about it all day, all the time. I was so distracted at work. It was brutal. And that is when I decided to hire my first relationship coach because I recognized, unfortunately and
mhm,
fortunately,
mhm.
that I'm the common denominator in all my relationships.
Right.
This isn't the first time I've had a rough breakup. I had a few rough breakups
Mhm,
with different people and they didn't know each other. So I'm the only one that's been involved in all of those situations. So maybe there's something for me to look at here. Maybe there's something
uh-huh.
I'm that I don't know I'm doing.
Mhm,
Maybe there's something I'm not doing that I think I'm doing. I
mhm,
don't know. And so I decided to work with this relationship coach, and it
mhm,
was amazing. I got my power back. I felt supremely confident. I let go of the past relationships, like actually, like not in concept. It was like a giant weight had been lifted off my shoulders.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and then I really dove into personal development. I started taking courses on communication, leadership, integrity, everything I could get my hands on. I was obsessed with this idea that two different people could
Mhm,
experience the same situation,
mhm,
and one person could come out of it and be unstoppable, and another
mhm.
person can come out of it and they could be wrecked.
Absolutely.
What's going on there? Like we like to say, like, oh, well, that person's just a great leader, or that person just got a great quality or charismatic, or it's like, I don't buy that.
Mhm,
I think something else that causes us to stay stuck, that causes one person to stay stuck in the same situation and another person to turn it into their biggest pivotal moment in their life.
mhm.
So, in my fascination with that and my deep dive into coaching,
Right.
started to think maybe I could do this. So now I was going from the student to the teacher. I was like, maybe I can kind of give people what I got out of this experience And so I was very nervous. I thought about that, like that stage of considering coaching. I thought about that in like 2 years. I wasn't
Oh,
taking any
nice.
steps towards it. I was just thinking about it. And I was so scared to actually like try it. It was just an idea, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember talking to somebody about this business idea that I had. And
Right.
as I was talking, a good friend of mine, as I was talking to him about it, he said, "You don't sound like you really want to do this." And I was
Hmm.
like, "You're right. I don't." He's like, "Well, what do you really want to do then?" And he was the first person I ever said this out loud to. I was like, "I think I want to be a relationship coach." Meanwhile, I'd been thinking about it for 2 years, right? So it was already
Right.
there. But
Right.
I hadn't said it out loud to
Right.
anybody.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Well, what's stopping you then? Like, do you think you'd be good at it?"
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Yeah, I think I would be good at it."
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing? Just flat out, like, what are you doing with, like, with your life? Like, come on. And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm gonna start talking about relationships online. I'm gonna start sharing about it on social media." And then that was the first step. It was like, okay, I'm gonna just talk about relationships. And I started
Mm-hmm.
talking about it. And then I decided, okay, I'm gonna coach some people for free. Let's see if I know anything. Let's see if I actually can do something with this, if it actually has any value. Because you know what it's like in your head. We build up these amazing ideas we
Of
can
course.
do.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to, putting the paintbrush on the canvas, looks like crap. It's like, okay, maybe I can't be, you know. So it was like, let's go find out. Let's get some real
Okay.
life data. See if
Mm-hmm.
we can actually have a skill in this. And so I
Mm-hmm.
coached, I think, 10 people for free for like a month or 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then all those people, at least 7 of them were like, "I'd like to keep working with you." And then I
Ah,
was,
amazing.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
we got something going on here. Something is valuable. And that was the beginning. So it was a brutal breakup, turned into a desire to heal and then share that healing, which I imagine is the story for a lot of people who do that kind of thing.
Thank you. Thank you again for doing what you do. And personal experiences are the best way to like help people. So, what was the missing blank for you? Like, what shifted after coaching for you? Like, what was it that you weren't doing before that helped you move on? Was it grieving? What if? Like, what was it that changed?
I think what was the biggest transformation
Mm-hmm.
was in thinking that my happiness
Mm-hmm.
and peace of mind
Mm-hmm.
was based on what my partner was or wasn't doing.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
It was
Interesting.
like, if they're happy, then I can be happy. If they're not, then I can't be. And it was to recognize that my happiness isn't about where they're at. I
Mm-hmm.
was putting all my security in them,
Right.
And as soon as I realized, like, that's a losing formula, because I have no power there. I have no power over my life.
Yeah.
As soon as I was able to discover that I can take 100% responsibility for my situation,
Mm-hmm.
then I was limitless.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was a euphoric moment
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can take 100% responsibility in a moment,
Mm-hmm.
and we all can 2 minutes later start blaming the next person for our situation, or you know
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be, avoiding accountability. And so I had this like breakthrough experience where I actually shared this letter to my ex, and it was just so incredible, such an incredible exercise. But then after that, I realized I had to nurture this skill. It wasn't like something that was finished.
Right. Right.
It was like
Mm-hmm.
I took a glimpse at how powerful I can be, and then it was like, okay, but you also have to like exercise that muscle. You got to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was a huge breakthrough to me. That is not something that I would say is permanent. It's more something that has to be nurtured and continuously developed over time.
Really, like you have to keep doing it, doesn't end.
Well, the temptations for all of us
Mm-hmm.
to be righteous
Mm-hmm.
and greedy
Mm-hmm.
and victims, the
Mm-hmm.
temptations are strong.
Of course.
We all can be susceptible to that. And if we
Mm-hmm.
don't have a support structure, good people around us, clear focus, then we're just going to be normal human beings like everybody else who gets dragged by the latest trend on Instagram or whatever it's gonna get you.
Exactly. Okay, so I love that you spoke about victimhood. So, okay, where does one draw the line between I should be compassionate towards myself and it's okay to be a victim for a bit, versus okay, now I'm just not taking responsibility and accountability and I'm just straight up blaming someone else for my own issues.
I think it's never okay to hang out in victimhood. I
Okay.
think it's always going to be damaging.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I say victimhood, I'm not referring to the court system where someone is a plaintiff and someone is a victim. That's like a real thing, right? Someone
Right.
caused a harm, someone received the harm of that person. We're not
Right.
diminishing that experience.
Of
I'm
course.
talking about the state of mind of
Mm-hmm.
victimhood.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Okay.
I love a pity party. I love, to be in a shitty position and tell other people about it and
Mm-hmm.
show them how unfair my situation is and
Mm-hmm.
have them go, oh, you're so unlucky, and join me in that pity party. So I could be tempted in that just like anyone. Now, I know that whenever I'm in that space,
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably the weakest, ugliest version of myself.
Right.
I'm not fun to be around. I'm
Right.
not something moving anything forward.
Of course.
So we're all going to dip our toe in that. The question is how long we stay there. So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm coaching someone and they're, feeling like a victim, the
Mm-hmm.
most important thing I can do as a coach and probably also as a friend or a partner
Mm-hmm.
is to actually ask them,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to hang out in this space? And if they do, then you go, okay, I'm willing to listen to you for, I might say 15 minutes or an hour or whatever, but I'm not going to hang out with you down here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a friend, I think that's one of the best things you can do as a friend is like, I'm going to hear your experience. You got to share. Fine. Let's do it. Let's get it all out.
Mm-hmm.
But once we get it all out,
Right.
let's take new action. Let's move forward. So
Absolutely.
that's where the compassion, I think, comes into to not resisting our own experience,
Mm-hmm.
but being careful not to make it our story, you know?
Ah, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Really?
I'm not sure how much you've seen me share about being raised by a single mother or Huntington's disease being affected in my family, different
Mm-hmm.
things that are challenging things that I could use as kind of like my badge of honor.
Right.
And that can be dangerous because it, on one hand, can be celebrating my resilience for a tough situation.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, can actually keep me stuck in that
Of
thing.
course. Of course.
Right? It's like, well, one point, it's like, hey, that happened, man. What are you going to go do now? Who are you going to
Mm-hmm.
be?
Really.
It's not going
Really.
to be your life. You're just this guy who has that story. It gets old,
It gets old. It gets old, of course.
boring.
What if we were to reverse the whole situation? Let's say someone makes it all about the partner in the sense that it's my fault. Everything is my fault. Like
Mm,
it
mm.
becomes like they're ruminating and making it all about them. Even
Yeah.
if their partner did something screwed up, they personalize it and think it's because of them. Or how do you deal with
Yeah.
that?
Well, it's kind of like two sides of the same coin. One side is it's all your fault. You've ruined my life. If only you
Mm-hmm.
would change. The
Mm-hmm.
other side, I've ruined your life. I
Mm-hmm.
can't change. I'm so messed up. They
Mm-hmm.
kind of live in the same world of
Mm-hmm.
insecurity and
Mm-hmm.
putting your whole experience on another person.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what I was talking about earlier, like my happiness is only stable if you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's so much pressure and so little power. So in
Mm-hmm.
that situation, chances are that person, has been fighting to get people's approval most of their life.
Of course.
Typically you grew up and feel neglected by your parents and
Mm-hmm.
you're just trying to be the good one,
Mm-hmm. Right.
which is that can be such a wonderful, it's like I have this exercise in my coaching called
Mm-hmm.
like unquenchable thirst.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where we identify the thing in you
Mm-hmm.
that you've used to get ahead in life and it's helped you a lot.
Right.
But at the same time, it consistently reminds you that you're inadequate.
Oh God. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like becoming the hard worker
Mm-hmm.
or the people pleaser or the one that's so kind.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, it's made you so likable
Mm-hmm.
and valued by other people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the bucket with a hole in it. You never feel satisfied with it because you always got
Uh,
to still be more nice. You still got to be more hardworking. You still got to make sure my partner is even more comfortable.
oh God.
You never
Mm-hmm.
get to feel that satisfaction, that fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that situation, we're looking to see where someone is placing their own fulfillment in someone else's hands
Mm-hmm.
as a result of their own fear.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a tough one that you said there because it sounds like such a good thing, right? I just love my partner. I just want them to be so happy.
Right.
It's like at the cost of you, though, cost of your own well-being. And usually people in that situation are thinking, well, it's going to be the cost of me or the cost of them. And I'm thinking as a coach,
Mm-hmm.
let's find another way.
Of course. Yeah.
That's door number one and two. Let's find door number six where you can be empowered and not be hanging on every word and action that they do.
Mm-hmm.
But first we gotta distinguish what it is that that person is addicted to reliving.
Interesting.
Because we
Would
as
you say
we as
pain?
say it again
Would you say it's pain?
one more time.
Would you say it's pain that we are addicted to?
Sorry, I still didn't catch it. What I say?
Wait, do you think
Pain.
it's
Oh, pain.
pain?
Pain.
Pain.
No. So to get different exercise in my coaching we do
Mm-hmm.
is we look to discover what is your persistent unwanted complaints in life. So
Okay.
these are the things that keep happening over and over again that
Right.
you don't like. Your partner is always defensive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect one. You can go to your friends. You're like, why is she so defensive? Every time I bring something up, she reacts to me. She can't just have a straightforward conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes, okay, why are you still there though? There's something you get out of that. There's something you get out of living that situation. And
Mm-hmm.
chances are we get out of it is we get to be right, or we get to be a
Mm-hmm.
victim, or we get to be
Ah,
justified in blaming
right.
them, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's a way harder thing to admit. That's a way harder thing to own. Like, oh, I'm doing this because I just want to be right and blame my partner. And oh, I'm so unfortunate to be in this situation. Very few people talk like that. Instead, they
Mm-hmm.
say, my partner's so defensive. I'm stuck because of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get our friends around and go, oh, yeah, that's that partner. I feel so bad for you. That's horrible. Meanwhile,
Mm-hmm.
no one's helping each other get out of this pit of, so you get something out of it until we get what it's costing us
Mm-hmm.
to stick in any unhealthy pattern.
Mm-hmm.
We keep
Yeah.
going. Like
Right.
that breakup I was telling you about for
Mm-hmm.
9 months, I was thinking, if only she
Mm-hmm.
would have been more self-aware, then we'd
Interesting.
still be together and I'd be happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the perfect out for me to not look at where I'm being irresponsible, to not look at where I'm lacking self-awareness.
Right.
So while this person, the example you gave, well, someone is saying it's just I'm working so hard to win them over. I'm working so hard to get their approval.
Mm-hmm.
They get something out of that space that they're hanging out in. And they're probably not just doing it with their partner. They're probably doing it with other people in their life too. Right. And even though it sucks,
Mm-hmm.
there's still a sense of familiarity to it. It's got a predictability.
Mm-hmm.
That person usually struggles immensely to
Mm-hmm.
actually allow joy.
Interesting.
They
Mm-hmm.
usually have such a hard time with peace because they're so used to trying to prove themselves that to
Mm-hmm.
actually let themselves receive is like, oh my God, what's wrong? Something awful is going to happen if I let this good thing happen to me.
Oh God.
They're not used to that dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is human being stuff. This is all of us. We all have some version, me, you, everybody, some version where we're just addicted to that situation we don't like. But again, until we get what it's costing us,
Mm-hmm.
till we truly get it, not know it,
Mm-hmm.
get it. That's costing our freedom, our love,
Mm-hmm.
our mind,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, that's only then will we actually change the behavior.
Brilliant. I love that you said get it and not know it because you can be aware of these things, but actually being able to do something about it is a completely different story altogether. And
Completely.
okay, so like let's talk about the thing about getting their approval, like you said. So how does
Mm.
one like stop performing in the relationship? That makes sense, maybe the obsession I think with everyone is to like fix their partner.
Hmm.
So how do you
Yeah,
change that?
lots of temptation in that. You start to imagine, there's a couple parts to it. The first is I like to play out that story with someone. So if I'm
Mhm,
working with someone, they go, I want to fix my relationship. I want to fix my partner. I
mhm,
kind of walk with them and go, okay, well, what would that look like? Let's say you win them over.
okay.
Then what? And I
Huh.
keep kind of asking them like the question, then what? Until they kind of get into a space of, well, I don't really know. I've never thought that far ahead. And I go, let's think that far ahead. Let's imagine you've won them over. You have the relationship. What would
Mhm,
you create next? What would you get up to next? And so what I'm trying to do there is I'm actually trying to get them out of their typical thinking pattern,
okay.
right? Because this muscle of trying to prove is so deep with so many of us. We
Mhm,
learn it in school, we learn it from our parents, like get the job done, get the A, get the pat on the back, whatever it is.
right.
It's like if you picture it on your brain, it's like a
Mhm.
highway, right? That it's got 50 on-ramps to it. It's so
Right.
automatic.
Mhm,
Here we got this other thing that goes, I'm not trying to prove anything. I
mhm,
enjoy your company.
right.
It'd be interesting to get to know you
Mhm,
and see what we can share in life.
mhm.
That's got it's unpaved. It's got no off ramp. It's got full of forests and it's hard to get through. It's like a
Oh,
new circuit in our brain that's
mhm,
just not used to it. So part of coaching is to help you practice thinking in new ways and then have you go out and practice that in real life.
mhm,
So for someone like that, one of the homework situations I'd often give them is
mhm.
around receiving. So I
Yeah.
might go, hey, when do you typically go try to fix something? When are you
Ah.
typically trying to, what's the situation? And maybe it's on a date, maybe it's with their mom, maybe it's whatever. And
Mhm,
I try to get them to walk me through the typical dialogue. And most people who've done this a lot will know like exactly what they say and exactly the kind of situation that they
mhm,
try to prove themselves. And I say, okay, I want you to go out this week and I
mhm.
want you to notice the temptation to prove yourself. And it's going to happen, guaranteed. If they're so used to it, there's something's going to come up. They might try to prove themselves at the grocery store by carrying 6 bags instead of two, like whatever it is. I want you to go in that moment
Right.
and I want you to ask someone else for help.
Oh God.
And they're going to struggle with that so much because it's going to show in their mind, this isn't true, but in their mind, it's going to think they're being weak,
Oh God. Mhm,
right? And
mhm,
so again, like you said, knowing this stuff is useless.
mhm,
We have to actually feel it to transform something, to step into a new version of ourselves. That's why the real magic in coaching isn't on a call. It's the time in between the call when you go participate in your life in a new way. So when that
mhm,
person is with their partner and they're about
mhm.
to try to prove, how great they are by telling some high school story of them winning track and field medal or something. And instead, I have them pause in that moment
Mhm,
and get curious
mhm,
and say less. They're going to have to sit in that discomfort and it's going to feel so strange. It's going to feel so unfamiliar.
mhm,
If they can do that and let themselves not try to change it, they're
mhm.
going to transform something in that moment. They're going to rewire their brain,
Brilliant.
but not from knowing it. Just like you said, this is such an important distinction because I believe we're living through an epidemic of knowledge.
Oh God.
Obsessed.
The dump of knowledge.
We know too much. We know too much. We know too much about attachment styles. We know too much about therapy language. We know all this stuff. And then
Mhm,
when it comes to actually being vulnerable,
mhm.
we're still horrified. The
Uh,
knowledge hasn't changed that courage one bit because you can't learn courage in a book. You can't learn vulnerability on a podcast. You can't even learn how to transform your life from the call that you and I are doing. You
Of
might
course.
a little taste of something.
Hmm.
But the magic is when you take something from this conversation you and I are having, or that podcast or book or whatever, and you go show up in your life in a new way.
Brilliant.
That's that's where all the magic lies. But it's scary. We're so good at talking ourselves out of it. Well, that's most of my job. With my clients, most of my job is holding them accountable to the homework that I'm giving them
Oh
because
God.
there's so many things that can be like, oh, well, it was raining and I thought I called a person. Maybe they were busy and stressed about work. And I'm like, come on. Okay, the truth is I was scared that they were gonna, reject me or whatever it was. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, I get that. And that's what we're here to face, you know?
Yay. I love
Right.
that you hold them accountable. Actually, let's talk about that. How do you start? I mean, of course, I know fear of rejection like comes from like self-rejection and things like that. But how do you start changing that and start like accepting yourself?
I think you start small.
Okay.
I focused on when I was younger, I was really obsessed with huge, audacious goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of got like a little kick out of setting these really big goals.
Okay.
I would never reach them. Like they
What
were,
do you mean?
it was almost like I knew like big goals about, um, you name it, whether it had to do with career or
Mm-hmm.
relationships. It was just like massive, massive goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never reach them. So my goal now, and I'll give you a story about this,
Mm-hmm.
is to actually aim low.
Interesting.
So yeah, so I'll give you an example. So I was at a pool party
Okay.
6 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw my now wife at the bar.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like kind of an afternoon sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought she just had this great smile about her, this great energy. She was just like, she seemed, she's always laughing. And I was looking over, and every moment she seemed to be laughing to me. It's like, I want to go talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
And by no means am I someone who like I would just go walk up and talk to anybody. I
Okay.
would say at that time, I'm a confident guy, but I'm not like someone who's like, oh, that's no problem. Just go speak to people. I
Mm-hmm.
was still, you know? And so I was looking over to her thinking, okay, I don't want to just go up to some random person. I want to see some form of reciprocation, which I think a lot of men can learn from today. Don't just
Mm-hmm.
go up to a random person. Instead, is there eye contact? Is there a smile? Is there some signal that's saying, maybe come over and say hi,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so I was saying to myself, okay, if she looks at me and she smiles, I'll go say hi. She
Okay.
looked, she looked at me, she smiled. I was like,
Oh.
fuck that. I'm not going to go say hi. I'm too scared.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay.
So I didn't. And then I was like in my head, okay, if she looks at me again,
Oh God, doesn't it?
I'll go, okay. She looks at me again. I'm too scared. I'm too scared. I keep talking myself out of it, just like the stories I've shared already, right? I know what to do. I know I want to talk to her. All the
No.
logic is there, but still the fear feels intense.
Mhm.
So then I go, okay, you know what? It's too high stakes. She's too important to me. I've built her up in my head. I got to go talk to some people that I haven't been thinking about for the last 20 minutes.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm gonna go walk around the party and just talk to some strangers that I'm not trying to date. Just people that are there. Like that's lower stakes. Whether they like me, don't like me, whatever, fine. And so I walked around, guys, women, whatever. I was just like, let's relax myself a little bit. Went around to the party, started talking to a few people. And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. I'm gonna go back to the bar. And if she looks at me again,
Mhm.
I'm definitely going to go talk to her. I go back to the bar. She looks at me again. And I can't, I gave in my own head, right? I'm like, I gave my word. Like, I got to do this now. Shit. I don't want, I wish there was like a hurricane right now. So I had an excuse to go talk to her. And so I walked over to her and I said
uh,
hi and myself.
mhm.
And I sat there and had sangria and talked for like 3 hours. And we had a blast. And
Oh,
that was the beginning, you
how cute,
know?
how cute.
Now there's no way that would have happened if I didn't aim low, if I didn't like let myself almost shoot lower and go talk to other people I wasn't trying to date. It
Hmm.
was like I brought the stakes down for myself.
Okay.
So the whole thing about interactions is, okay, well, what's harder? Interacting with someone that you don't care if you speak to ever again, or
Hmm.
interacting with someone you think could be the woman you're going to marry,
Oh, God. I.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Feels like 100 times harder. So it's like, let me just bring the stakes down a little bit. And then maybe that'll build up some momentum so that I have the courage to take the bigger step.
Brilliant.
And so I do the same thing in coaching. If we want to develop ourselves and take these steps into confidence and security, well, we have our big audacious vision.
Hmm.
And you go, well, what would be the easiest step you could take towards that this week?
Hmm.
And we come up with it. And it might be something from a call from a client yesterday. I'm going to text my best friend I haven't seen for a while and ask them when they're free to have a call because we haven't talked in 6 months.
Hmm.
It's like, great, let's do it. Now it seems small, but the small things are actually what make for quality relationships. The
Hmm.
small things are actually huge. How we greet each other,
Hmm.
how we sit at the dinner table, how we
Hmm.
hug. Like these things make up the quality of our relationships. But we
Hmm.
think it's the proposal or the wedding or the amazing thing I'm going to say to her when I walk up to the bar. It's like,
Hmm.
that's not it. It's our energy, it's our consistent, thoughtful actions. And so, my goal with anyone I'm working with is to help them discover what their big vision is
Hmm.
and actually map that out into the smallest feasible steps that they can
Brilliant.
build up.
Absolutely brilliant. I love that he spoke about big vision. Okay, I'm gonna give you a scenario, and okay, let's
Cool.
say that there's a woman, okay, and you want to go out with her, but big vision, you've projected like this is the person for you, right? Now, obviously, the stakes are really high. What do you do in a situation like that? When you're really, really scared of going out on the date? Do you lower
Well,
them?
so I've already got the date.
Hmm. Yep,
That's
you've
what I'm
gotten the
saying.
date. Yep, you've gotten the date.
And I think she's like amazing. I built her up in my head so
Like
much.
crazy build up. Yep.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. So, couple parts here.
Mm-hmm.
First is
Mm-hmm.
I got to get back down to reality.
Okay.
I got to start to ask the questions, why do I think this person is so amazing?
Mm-hmm.
What do I actually know about them?
Mm-hmm.
And if we start to kind of ask those questions and answer them, you'll go, oh, well, the truth is probably that I saw her a couple times and she was gorgeous or something, or I know one thing about her brother or something, and it's like, so is she as amazing as you think she is?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay. Next question. Do you normally do this with other
Mm-hmm.
people? And then typically someone who does this like, yeah, I've probably been doing that with the last 6 people I've been dating.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, okay, why do we do that? Well, we do that because then we can have this beautiful feeling of potential, right? You can't be disappointed. But here's the thing, nobody on the face of the earth is perfectly awesome and wonderful all the time. Nobody.
Right.
Well, this is the same thing I was telling you before. We get something out of that perspective. I get to have this feeling of potential that no
Interesting.
one live up to.
Mm-hmm.
So first, the first part, is it true? Okay, let's get back to reality. What do we actually know about this
Right.
person?
Right.
Is this habit that I'm doing? Do I tend to
Mm-hmm.
do this? And
Mm-hmm.
then the worst part, talking to someone who does this, they go, yeah, yeah, but this is different. And you go, is it? Is it different? Really? Yeah, yeah, she's got a dog. The others had cats or something like this. And it's like, okay, that's not really okay. So that's how I try to handle that. Now I would obviously ask more questions. If it was someone I was working with, I would go deeper
Mm-hmm.
into, what when you build people up like this, what does it
Mm-hmm.
give you permission to do on these dates? Well, typically it means as soon as they disappoint me in any way, I have a free pass to
Mm-hmm.
walk.
Oh, interesting.
Right. Because I thought you were amazing. You were the best person I ever thought of. It's like, oh, you don't talk to your mom that often. You must have trauma issue. I'm
Oh,
gone. You're messed up. See ya.
oh
Like,
God.
so it's two extremes
Mm-hmm.
versus the balanced idea. It's like, I'm interested in you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know you. I know a little bit about you. Let's explore.
That's
And that's something I'm trying to get more and more people into the mindset of in dating, because too
mm-hmm.
many of us are like so extreme.
Mm-hmm.
It's so intense, like interviewing each other. It's got to be like
I
just
do.
right. And then the other is like I'm barely involved and I'm not even showing any of myself and I'm totally withdrawn, got vaults everywhere. It's like, no, let's you can go on a date and explore, and it doesn't mean you're going to marry them, and it doesn't mean that they're horrible either.
Mhm.
Let's find out a little bit without the pressure of having it to be all or nothing.
I love that. And I love the I love that you use the word interviewing. And it is true. I think most people are really obsessed with potential. And I think in this sort of phase where we all feel like we can get better, like we can change. I think personal development is a great thing, but I think we sort of project that onto other people. Okay, wait, if I can change, you can change too. So how do
Yeah.
you distinguish between, okay, everybody can change, they can get better versus I think I'm
Yeah.
sort of projecting like personal development onto them.
That's a tough one because I think any of us, anybody who stepped into the world of personal development has been
Mm-hmm.
hooked by that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I started getting personal development, I was like, look at how great my life's going. Look, I wonder
Mm-hmm.
how your life can go. And, you know, these aren't even people who like asked for my advice. I'm just like projecting them what I think their life should be, which if you felt anyone do
Mm-hmm.
that, it feels horrible. It just feels gross and weird, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So to distinguish that, I think there's kind of an idea that if you're truly growing and evolving,
Mm-hmm.
then actually no one else around you has to.
Ah, interesting.
The moment that I think you should be different
Mm-hmm.
for my life to work,
Mm-hmm.
I've actually taken a step backward.
Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but there's kind of a nuance to this because, maybe I want my partner to be more romantic.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep, dropping hints about how he can be romantic.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably not going to work. The question instead is, how do I become a space where being romantic feels natural for them?
Hmm.
That's where we flip the growth back onto ourselves always. Because I can't control you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I try to control you, it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to look at if I'm trying to control any version of you, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to project anything onto you,
Mm-hmm.
there's something that, again, that allows me to avoid.
Okay.
So if it's kind of like if I'm coaching someone and they're not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's pretty easy for me to go, you just don't get it. You're not trying.
Hmm.
That will make me a very good coach.
Right. Of
If I
course.
if I was a skilled coach, I go, let's get curious. What's another way I could say this that might land for them easier?
Hmm.
Now I
Okay.
can always come back to being responsible. I can always come back to being the one to make the difference rather
Hmm.
than if only you idiots would figure your life out, everything would be better, A lot of people think that about their family. Doesn't work. Doesn't work so well.
I mean, oh, I love that you said that, but then how does um isn't that a bit risky because then it becomes all about fixing yourself? Like this obsession
Okay.
with fixing yourself becomes a new set of
Okay. So
yeah.
there's something that got misinterpreted there.
Uh-huh.
I never said anything about fixing
Okay.
yourself.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's nothing to fix.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to fix. That's like a pillar of coaching, or at least
Mm-hmm.
my coaching,
Mm-hmm.
is that there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with me, there's nothing to fix. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing broken.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The question really is, how much influence do you want to have over your life?
Mm-hmm.
That's endless.
Uh-huh.
I can have an endless amount of influence over my life and my experience of life. So if
Absolutely.
someone in your life is not acting or behaving the way you want them to,
Mm-hmm.
to look at, well, what has to evolve in me,
Mm-hmm.
transform that over there.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant.
It's kind of conceptual, so it's hard to get. I'm trying to think of, let me see if I can think of another example. Um,
Would that
trying to think of
transformation
one.
include walking away? Could that also be a sort of
Yeah,
walking away again?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the person who's complaining that their partner is always defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you get to keep telling this story and staying
Mm-hmm.
in this relationship
Mm-hmm.
when the big, huge step for you is
Mm-hmm.
actually to go, I'm not doing this with you anymore.
Ah.
But that sounds scarier than going back to your friends and complaining about how defensive your partner is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's a whole abyss of new world that I don't even know what it would look like.
Mm-hmm.
So it absolutely is can be like I've done that in coaching. Like I've done that
Mm-hmm.
with people. Are you willing to listen to me? Are you willing to actually share with me?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is no. I got nothing for you.
Ah,
I'm not going to try to make you learn. I'm not going to try to make you do anything.
of course.
It's got to be a joint commitment,
Mm-hmm.
like in any relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the best things we can do is stop talking when someone is no longer listening.
Ah, brilliant. I love that. I love
We struggle with that when we're arguing with people.
that. I mean, in the moment doesn't strike anyone. Everyone's, it's all about expressing themselves, but they don't really see what's really happening. And
Yeah,
I,
I would love to take away the whole idea that there's something wrong with you or there's something wrong with me. It's a
mm-hmm,
tough one because
right.
we've kind of collapsed this idea that
Mm-hmm,
self-development,
mm-hmm,
there's something to be fixed
right.
instead of how good can I have it?
Ah, that's a nice way to look at it.
Like you think about a professional athlete. I love to use sports examples because I'm a huge basketball fan.
Mm-hmm,
Like no basketball player makes all of their shots.
right.
So they've accepted that there's nothing wrong with me if I miss a shot. It's just part of playing the game.
Playing the game. Okay.
We struggle with that in relationships and life. It's like, no, I ruined that. I'm messed up. It's like, no, you're a human being trying to navigate something you've probably never navigated before.
Mm.
It's going to be messy. So let's see what we can evolve. Not you're so stupid and messed up. You're the only person who's ever done this in a relationship. It's like, yeah, you're probably one of millions that have done the same
Done
exact thing.
Brilliant. Okay, let's switch the tables. Now let's say I'm the avoidant partner. Okay, and my need for space is perceived as me abandoning them.
Yeah.
But I need to honor my space, otherwise I will start resenting you. How
Yeah.
does the
It's a good
avoidant
example.
partner navigate that?
How does the avoidant partner navigate that?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't envy avoidance. You
Mm-hmm.
know, people who struggle with avoidant attachment.
Mm-hmm.
That's so tough.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Whenever you feel threatened,
Mm-hmm.
everything in your body and head is telling
Mm-hmm.
you to get the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel so sure of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the real access to becoming secure when you're
Mm-hmm.
avoidant
Mm-hmm.
is to step forward, to stay at the table, to stay in
Okay.
the conversation. But
Mm-hmm.
it's so difficult because everything about them saying, I gotta go, I gotta get out of here,
Mm-hmm.
or I gotta run. That's where I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I'm coaching avoidance, it comes back to the smallest step. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I had this one client, very ambitious guy,
Mm-hmm.
and whenever he could just sense the smallest hint of commitment from someone that he was dating, he's like, "Yeah, she's not for me. I gotta go." It was all good in the first date, but then, and he did like 20 people, and it was like, maybe it's not them. So look into this. And the thing is, he didn't know what else to do. It's
Of
like
course.
he didn't have a menu of options. It was like, I gotta just get out. I don't know. I
Right.
don't have their options.
Right.
So when I was working with him, we were trying to figure out what he could communicate or do in
Mm-hmm.
that situation. And so we set up this idea of, can you just say what your one thing that you're feeling in that moment when you want to run? You don't
Okay.
have to console the other person. You don't have to make sure they're okay. You don't have to fix what's going on. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
change anything.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just let them into your world a tiny bit? And
Okay.
maybe that's like when you came over unannounced, you
Mm-hmm.
kind of freaked.
Ah.
It's like, and just that, that was like his only homework. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
just, can you sit in that? Can you say that?
Mm-hmm.
And then he started to say it, and then he started to build up more confidence, and he could say more. And
Mm-hmm.
before you know it, he was actually able to have mature relationship conversations and talk about what his fears were with the other person. And then
Brilliant.
once you can talk about your fears, now we can navigate a new way to deal with those fears together.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us don't even get to that stage. We just go problem, danger, run, mission over.
Mission home.
Oh, the wrong person for me. Dating pool's fucked. We're all screwed. It's like so not true. But we'll convince ourselves of anything if it keeps us safe.
Mm-hmm.
We're so good at that. So the avoidant, I don't envy them. My wife is, I call it she's a recovering avoidant, and I'm a recovering anxious attacher.
I love that.
I like to use recovering because we're both secure people, but we can dip into that.
Of
I
course.
can dip into anxiety, she can dip into avoidance. And so this comes back to your earlier question about, okay, me telling her to stop being so avoidant isn't going to help. It's going to probably make her more avoidant,
For sure.
right?
Yeah.
So I got to think, well, what causes her to be more avoidant? Well, me
Mm-hmm.
clinging to her,
Mm-hmm.
my anxiety attachment causes her to be more avoidant.
Mm-hmm.
But then I can say, but her avoidance is what's causing my anxiety. So
Exactly.
her fault. And this is where we always got to look in the mirror. It's like, okay, what if her chance of becoming more secure
Mm-hmm.
lie in my ability to become
Mm-hmm.
more secure myself?
Brilliant.
It's like, okay, now I can stop trying to fix her.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to only focus on when my anxious attachment has got me hooked
Mm-hmm.
and wants me to call and figure out and get all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
So where the other example with that previous client I was telling you about, his is to say something he's scared of, see something he's dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Anxious is to shut up,
Mm-hmm.
to just slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
That first thing you want to say, I promise you, it's going to come out not the way you intended it.
Yeah.
So can you pause? Can you pump the brakes
Mm-hmm.
and let your nervous system calm down and see what your third, fourth, or fifth thought is? Because
Mm-hmm.
chances are that third, fourth, fifth thought is fantastic and exactly what's needed. But rarely do we get a chance to go there because we're so triggered just like they are.
Brilliant. Okay. I Let's talk about the fourth and fifth thought. How do you know if what you're feeling is intuition versus it's just like a internal sort of battle going on between the head and the heart?
Oh man, that's such a tough one. I don't know anyone who does that perfectly. There's stories and justifications. So I look at it in two ways. The first
Mhm.
way is it coming from love or from fear? Okay, if it's coming from fear, oh, can you still hear me? I'd pause for a second. Can you
Right.
hear me?
Okay. Mhm. Okay. No, I can
Yeah.
hear you perfectly. Yep.
So if it's coming from love, then it's probably your
Hmm.
intuition. If it's fear, then it's probably
Hmm.
not. That's the first part. Now, again, those things are
Hmm.
still also hard to see because we can justify
Hmm.
ourselves, be like, oh no, I'm just being loving. It's like, no, I'm being manipulative. It's hard to see.
Oh,
Again,
brilliant.
this is why coaching is so important.
Hmm.
Now, that's one way. The other way is there a reason attached to this? So I
Hmm.
like this thing to use food as an example.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're just in the mood for tacos.
Hmm.
Okay, mood for
Hmm.
tacos.
Hmm.
So I say, what do you want? You say you want tacos. And I say, well, why do you want tacos? And you say, I just do. right? It's just there's no reason. I just do. I just no reason to it.
Mhm.
That's intuition. It's a feeling that just doesn't need a story or a justification attached to it. It's just I want to go travel to India.
Mhm.
Why? I feel called to go there. I just want to go.
Right.
Versus like I want to go to India because it's good in the winter and my based on my budget, it's the right thing to do. And I
Mhm.
probably have this friend over there, so I should go see them. It's been a long time. That's not intuition.
Mhm.
That's riddled with justifications and good
Right.
reason,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Again, it's a skill. It's a hard one to tell.
It's hard.
It's a
It's
hard
hard.
one to tell.
Because the thing with intuition is it's usually the first thought, right? But then
Yeah, it's
reasoning
like
is like
right
all
there.
about not the first thought.
You have that thought. Yeah, right, exactly.
Mhm.
But here's the thing, intuition
Mhm.
often doesn't come when we're in a state of anxiety,
Mhm.
right? That's where we're all flushed with fear.
Mhm.
So it's not your first thought, that is your intuition. You're also in protective mode.
Mhm.
So often what I'm doing with coaching is if someone has a tough decision they need to make about their career, about who they're with,
Mhm.
about whether or not they should, I talked to someone last week, whether or not they should cut out their father, just trying to decide if I should just end relationship with her father.
Mhm.
She was
Okay.
in such a state of worry
Mhm.
that trying to make this decision in that state is
Mhm.
not going to work. So our goal first is to change her state to confidence or security or peace,
Mhm.
and then ask her what she wants to do. So whenever we're struggling with decisions, the first thing to go is not try to do a pros and cons list about the decision. Is try
Mhm.
to see, well, what state am I in? Well, maybe I'm in a state of scarcity.
Mhm.
Well, if I'm in a state of scarcity, I'm probably going to cling to everything.
Right.
Money, a partner, you name it. It's like, okay, we
Mhm.
got to shift your state first for you to be
Mhm.
able to choose something with a bit of wisdom and
Mhm.
intuition.
Mhm. Brilliant. Okay,
Not
so
easy.
not easy. That would be an understatement. So, I have like two more questions before we end this, and one's about a reel of yours that I just saw. By the way, brilliant. What are your honest thoughts about being friends with an ex? Like, I I'm very curious.
You said, yeah, I
Yeah.
posted that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I wouldn't recommend it. I
Mm-hmm.
just it just has it's like playing with fire to me.
Mm-hmm.
You could be friends with so many people, and to
Mm-hmm.
choose to be friends with your ex
Mm-hmm.
is, and if you want to have a good relationship
Mm-hmm.
with a romantic partner, I think you're just playing with fire. Now, again, it depends on what we
Mm-hmm.
mean by friend. Is
Okay.
this someone you want to hang out with a couple times a month, or is this more like an acquaintance, which is like you're friendly with them,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not someone you're going to call, for a deep talk.
Right.
If you're an acquaintance, for sure, if I saw any of my exes on the street, I'd say hello and wish them well and, hope they're doing well, ask a couple questions about them. But I wouldn't try to be their friend because they're not my friend, they're my ex. That's just the way I see it. So for me, the most important thing is the relationship with my wife, and
Right.
anything that could risk that
Mm-hmm.
to me is not worth keeping around. The benefit of having that person as a friend versus the
Mm-hmm.
risk
Mm-hmm.
of them or me getting too involved with each other, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
seem worth it.
Doesn't seem worth it. Brilliant. Let's actually like put ourselves in both the situations. I'd love for you to like talk about how the person who's only there as a friend because they can't let go, how can they sort of convince themselves out of that situation and be like, you know what, this is not good for me because it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. So,
The
as
person who
the other person.
the one who likes them and is wishing for a relationship with them.
Yep. Both of them actually, if you could talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so as for the people who are listening to this, as
Mhm.
the reel stated, I was talking about how there's one person who kind of likes the attention of the
Mhm.
person that likes them. So they're going,
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll keep you around. I kind of like that you call me and you compliment me, and it's like this is what's not to like.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the other person who is
Mm-hmm.
pretending they're okay with being friends when really they want to be more than friends. So for
Mm-hmm.
the person, I'm pretending to be okay with this, and the
Mm-hmm.
truth is, I want to be more than friends.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Right.
if you want to end this cycle, you got to
Mm-hmm.
start to look at what the predictable future is
Mm-hmm.
if you keep this up. And typically, the predictable future is going to be, well, this person's going to get in a new relationship and it won't be with me.
Ah,
How
right.
long am I going to wait? And what do you think is going to happen? Someday they just wake up and go, bam, Simon's the one. That's what they're hoping for.
Right.
I invite them to consider the idea that, well, you're so fixated on this person,
Mm-hmm.
you are actually completely missing out on who you could actually be with. Someone who actually wants to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when someone tells you they don't want to be with you, that's good news. Now you know, so you can move on.
Mm-hmm.
But again, easier said than done because if we have the proving mentality,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go, oh, you just haven't seen the best of me yet. I'm gonna be so good and you're gonna see how great I am. I'm gonna win you over. And the worst part about that is they might win them over. And if they do win them over,
Oh
they'll be
no.
unfulfilled once they won them over. They'll go, oh, this is it. I've been thinking about this for 6 years and I'm finally with this person and it's not as good as I thought it was gonna be because I was obsessed with winning them over. So there's lose, lose, lose all over the place. But the
Absolutely.
opportunity is, can I actually have the courage to give up this thing that I'm attached to? If I can have that courage, so many doors open up, so many opportunities open up, but not one moment before actually having the courage to walk away.
Mhm. Oh God, I brilliant. The courage to give up. 1 second, I think it's stuck.
No, I got you. I'm hearing you.
Okay, okay, perfect. Um, you know, okay. Oh, what about the other person?
Ah, the other person. Yeah. So the other person, it's a bit of a tougher one because it seems like there's so many perks with such little effort. I just get to be myself, and this
Right,
person,
exactly. Like you're getting everything out of it. Why should I give up? Yeah.
yeah, I like being liked. It's a nice feeling. I think
Uh-huh.
this person needs to look really deep into the character they want to be,
Mm-hmm.
into the kind of person they want to be,
Mm-hmm.
and actually really check
Mm-hmm.
in. What kind of behavior patterns am I building if I keep letting this
Mm-hmm.
happen? What kind of person am I going to become if I allow this person, knowing full well they still like me? If I know they still like me, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to keep this up, what kind of person am I going to be? Well, chances are
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably start to see the value of manipulation and the value of
Mm-hmm.
using people. And
Right.
if I'm, pretty conscientious and self-aware, I'll recognize that that really lacks integrity. And I got to ask, do I
Mm-hmm.
want to be a person who has a higher level of integrity? If I do, then I should say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I know you like me more than a friend, and I don't want to do this. I get that you say that you like don't, but I'm not buying it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not buying it,
Mm-hmm.
and I care about you, and this doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's gonna be tough. But both people have an incredible opportunity to give themselves
Mm-hmm.
huge gifts if they can
Mm-hmm.
step into this kind of courage.
Mm-hmm.
The most fulfilling parts of life lie on the other side of our courage and where we're afraid to step into something. And when we do, it's like
Really?
I'm fascinated by that. I want to spend my whole life figuring out where's my next step, my next step, my next step. Because as I do, it's like a new blind spot gets revealed. And I go, oh, I didn't know life could be this good. I didn't know I
Right.
could have this much influence over my life, or my family, or my
Mm-hmm.
health.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep exploring that till the day we die. What an adventure to be on. Not, I need to fix myself. Look at this
Mm-hmm.
adventure I could take.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. So I have one final question before we end the interview.
Cool.
And this is something I think is spoken of enough without any answers. Let's say someone's been single for a while. Okay, they've walked away from everything. They've done it all. They put themselves out there. They're just not finding anyone.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
what? How that sort of state where you can't find anyone for you, how do you sort
yeah.
of deal with that? Or do you think
Um,
something is not working out? Like, are you not doing something right? What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, so for lack of a better term, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Yeah, when
Mhm.
people say that to me, it's like there's love everywhere. There's love everywhere. There's
Uh-huh.
people who want to be in relationships all over the place. And if you're telling me you haven't found
Uh-huh.
the one and you've been putting yourself out there, I call bullshit.
Uh-huh.
There's some places you're not putting yourself out there, or you're kind of half-assed doing it, or
Mhm.
you're still waiting around for someone to come up to you, or whatever it is. I remember another story. I like to teach in stories, so I'll give you another one. I was
Mhm.
at this retreat in Bali with a
Okay.
hundred other amazing people, like just
Mhm.
really interesting entrepreneurial, trend-setting thinkers, just interesting people.
Mhm.
And we had workshops every day for 5 days, learning from each other. And this
Mhm.
one, I think the second day, we all had a
Mhm.
big day workshops, and it's like nice dinner.
Mhm.
It's dark out. We go to the pool. There's maybe like 10 or 15 of us.
Mhm.
I'm with a group on one side. I hear this other group's over there, and I overhear this woman, some people talking about relationships. Of course, my ears perk up, right? And then they go, this one woman says, I just haven't. I've never been in love before. I haven't found someone I could fall in love with. I think she was
That's sad.
30.
Okay.
Well, this it wasn't sad to me. I said, bullshit, bullshit. You haven't found. I was like, I don't buy that for a second.
Uh-huh.
I was 28. I was like, I've fallen in love 5 times. Why is that? I'm just lucky? Bullshit. It's all about how are you showing up? That love
Mhm.
could be an opportunity for you. And
Mhm.
people were arguing with me and they didn't like what I said. And oh, that's rude. I'm like, whatever, you guys aren't for me. I'm out of here. And I got out of the pool. I was like, "Screw this." The next day, she came and she sat next to me at breakfast. And she said, thank you
Mhm.
so much for what you said yesterday. Because
Oh.
nobody has called me out on this.
Ah.
Nobody. And you're right. The truth is, I do hold my cards close to my chest and I really want love, but I keep hesitating. I keep holding back. And I'm like, I know, I can tell. So you're talking about it. I could hear it in your voice. And
Mhm.
she was like, we had a whole bunch of really interesting conversations, me and her, over the rest of that trip. So to answer your
Mhm.
question, yeah, I think it's not true. It's just not true. I think we find what we're looking for.
Mhm.
And most people say they're looking for love, but really they're looking for what could go wrong. They're looking for how they could get hurt.
Ah.
They're
Right.
obsessed with red flags.
Mhm.
They're to make the wrong decision. It's like you can't find love in that space.
Mhm.
You know,
What has been the most common thing for you, have you noticed in clients? What is usually the
I mean, it's changed the last few years. Things feel like they've been moving so fast.
Mhm.
In maybe 3, 4 years ago, so many people were just so interested in love and interested in getting themselves unstuck so they could experience love. The
Right.
last year, maybe 2 years, it's incredibly common for um, people to get discouraged easily.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, people are less willing to try.
Mhm.
People are more closed off. People are
Mhm.
more sure
Mhm.
about what's wrong with other people.
Mhm.
I think that's a real problem that we're seeing online today is like labeling the heck out of each other,
Mhm.
and
Over-labeling, yeah. Oh God.
yeah, and we just kind of like if you're not perfect, you're horrible. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, nobody's perfect and nobody's completely horrible. So what's really going on? And I think we're kind of losing the patience to find out.
Right.
I think, yeah, you put on social media, the obsession we have with doom scrolling, AI now, all these
Mm-hmm.
things are tools that can be used for such good.
Mm-hmm.
But if we use them to distract ourselves from our life,
Mm-hmm.
or we use them to find more evidence to prove that we're right, that women are the enemy, or men are the enemy, or children are the enemy, whatever it is, we're going to find a lot of that.
Right.
It's heartbreaking to me because I believe in long-term love so
Mm-hmm.
deeply. I believe in family, I believe long-term love,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of stuff that can make us confused
Mm-hmm.
and righteous. And so that's what I'm seeing more of. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to change my content to help wake people up from
Mm-hmm.
that nightmare. It's not easy.
It's not easy. And actually, I have seen that shift within your content as well. And I love that you're speaking about many more things that you weren't speaking about a couple of years ago. It was a little more restricted to only relationships. And I love that you've expanded into like things that people talk about men, about women. And I love the new things that you're speaking about as well. So
Thank you
kudos.
so much. I've been scared. I've been so scared to share this
No,
new
I
way.
love that. I love that. I mean, relationships are not just about relationships, they're about, I mean, relationships change you. So, there's 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 only so much you can just talk about two people, right? It becomes so much more than that. And I love that you're talking about so many different things and
Thank
kudos.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to shift this idea less about trying to get the perfect partner or trying to have the perfect life. It's more about transforming our relationship to ourselves.
Hmm.
Everything, in my opinion, is shaped from that. Our career, our family dynamics, our own self-confidence, maybe even our health
Hmm.
is part of, how confident we are, how secure we feel, you
Hmm.
know, we believe what we don't believe.
Hmm.
And so trying to shift in that direction. But yeah, it's scary for me too. Like, before when you said, how do you shift these things in other people? If you want someone else to change, like I want people to become more courageous. I want people to be more interested in love and be more positive.
Right.
Okay, well, if I want other people to do that,
Hmm.
I got to look where I'm not doing that,
Hmm.
which is the real battle. That's the real journey. So that's why this new content starts. Like, I haven't really been saying the things that I'm scared to say. So if I
Hmm.
want other people to have the courage to say what they want to say,
You should be
I
doing
got,
it too.
yeah.
Well, I love what you're saying, so please keep doing what you do. Love over fear. So, if you have any haters, just it's all right. Keep doing what you're
I
doing.
got stuff.
Please keep doing what
Thank
you
you
do.
very much.
Don't stop.
I
Please don't
really
stop.
means a lot. That means a lot. Thank you. And
No,
thanks
thank
for
you
having
for being
me.
here. Thank you so much for being here. And I will send you this video right after. It'll be done like half an hour. So I'll send you the video right after. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing what you do. And I hope you have an amazing day ahead.
You so much for having me. It was a pleasure to have this conversation. Thank you for your great questions and bringing these different relationship scenarios that I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with.
Uh-huh,
And thank
uh-huh.
you for, thank you for bringing these different kinds of people to
Hmm.
your audience and creating a community for people to learn and grow. It's amazing, and we're totally in this together. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
I love that. Thank you so much. Very sweet. Goodbye. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.